Good morning. Happy Monday. I say morning, but there's almost no chance this will actually be published in the morning. But it's morning for me. I was thinking about a handful of topics for today. I actually had nothing yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just go in blind. And then some stuff started to come up and come to mind, and yeah, we'll see. I feel like I have a couple thoughts that might be too much for one thing or too mixed. But I was thinking a lot about wisdom and thinking a lot about rational discussion. And for that second one, maybe even more so around constructive conversation. I used to watch a lot of debates and had a lot of fun with those. And I ended up stopping, this is years ago, because of feeling like too much of what I was watching was that gotcha content where you're looking for one side to slam dunk on the other side, which is popular content. Stuff goes viral that way. But it's not super healthy. And so I stopped and mostly reserved myself to only watching debates out of two primary motivators. One, genuine curiosity, and two, a lack of emotional reactivity. So I have to be genuinely curious in the topic, which is usually pretty easy to do when you're clicking on longer videos. I think sometimes when you click on shorter things, it's not necessarily curiosity, you just are clicking. But for longer form stuff, usually most of us are clicking based on curiosity. But the second element to that is the emotional reactivity piece. So for me, it's something that I need to be able to not be emotionally reactive to. And if at any moment I start to get fired up, I have to turn it off because that's not healthy. But it always shines a light on why is that affecting me that way? Why am I getting emotionally charged hearing two people talk, two people that I don't even know? And that's a super interesting question for me, especially debates that aren't presidential or political in the sense of running for office. So it's one thing to watch a presidential debate and get emotional because of, I think say happiness or upsetness, but I think most people are watching and they're upset. It doesn't really matter who you're voting for. I think most of the time now people are just upset. But watching that, because those are the people that are going to lead your country, and I know the country is led by more than just a president, but I think that's what gets people all emotional, is it's like, this is the future of our country. And so I'm feeling this way because they're saying this, and if they win, that means this. And I know a lot of people are watching right now and they're upset that these are the only two candidates we have, and that makes sense too. For me, I'm speaking more into standard debates that are not on that type of scale. So they can be political, they can be religious, they can be general ideas, but usually the heated ones now are political or things that are news notable. Politics and religion are always the kind of go-to ones that people address when they're thinking about debates and hot button topics. So I was thinking a lot about that, and we'll spend a little bit of time talking about it primarily from the perspective of the necessity for constructive conversation, particularly in the face of ideas that we disagree with, and how this affects mental health and emotional health and overall health by being able to do this. And some people will say, well, yeah, but some voices shouldn't be heard or have a seat at the table, and that's incorrect in my opinion. And I think a really common example of this is our society has gotten very it's not everyone in society, but it's a lot of people, are actively shutting down dialogue. And you see it more in left-leaning politics in the US. And that's important because you can see the reactivity on the right because of it. So the point that I'm making with that is left-wing politics have mostly free reign voice to say what they want at this current stage. And a lot of that voice shuts down certain right-wing ideas. And I think from their perspective, like, this is good. We don't want those ideas. And the problem with that is some of the ideas they shut down are not bad ideas. They're just ideas they don't like. A lot of the ideas they're shutting down are bad ideas. And you might think, well, if they're bad ideas, what's the problem shutting it down? And the issue is shutting stuff down doesn't necessarily make it go away. Think about if you've been to therapy or if you've processed emotions. We'll talk about repression. So if you're feeling angry or you're feeling upset, a lot of people will just push that down and bottle it up. And then it eventually explodes, it comes out. It's rare that we push stuff down and it goes away. It might dissipate in quiet, like if it's in the heat of the moment and we pull it down, it might just take care of itself in a lot of ways. But the actual pain and hurt and the experience inside of that won't go away. So if you have people that are speaking ideas that are really dangerous and really just not helpful, they don't need silenced. They need to be invited into healthier dialogue with mature and healthy people. So if you have somebody that is espousing, racist ideas, for instance, the solution to that is not to silence them and ostracize them. Because what that does is it tells them, who are saying things that pretty much everyone would say is not good, what you'll be telling that person is, hey, when you enter this space, we don't appreciate you, we don't approve you, we don't accept you, you don't belong here, you can't talk like that, leave and shut up. That doesn't change someone's mind. Occasionally, that kind of stuff makes people rethink their ideas a little bit. And they're like, wow, this group doesn't want me, or people don't want me around. I wonder if I'm saying something. That does help sometimes. But when you shut down voices without any type of love and encouragement and movement towards a healthy direction, the ideas usually stay in their head. And in your mind, you're like, good, I shut them down. I moved them away so that this space can be safe and healthy. But that's not what happens. Your space isn't necessarily safer or healthier. It's in the short term more comfortable. But what that does is it pushes them away. And they'll eventually say those same ideas to other people and probably be pushed away again. And eventually one day they'll say it to someone who agrees with them. And then they have this little bond that happens. I'm like, oh, this person says they're racist. Oh, and the person I'm talking to says so too. Wow, look at that. And now they connect. And this is where more hateful groups start to come up and subgroups start to come out that are unhealthy, because people are relational and people seek community. People thrive in community. Loneliness is a huge issue nowadays. And this is stuff we've known for years. I mean, thousands and thousands of years we've known relationships and community are important. And for whatever reason, we seem to be doing worse than ever at it right now, which is unbelievable, but makes sense in a lot of ways too, which I guess is oxymoronic. It's unbelievable, it makes sense. But people need community and they'll find it somewhere. And if they find it with other hateful thoughts, then they just create more hate. And they create more violence. So that's going to end up forming potentially a racist subgroup by pushing people out who have those thoughts. Now, one of the best ways to combat bad ideas is to first work on yourself and pay attention to your bad ideas. You need to mature. Get to an emotional place that you are stronger, that you are more resilient. Work through your trauma, work through your pain. The inability to do that, or the lack of doing that, will, without question, negatively impact your ability to connect and heal other people. It doesn't mean you have to be perfectly healed to contribute to the world. What it means, though, is that your capacity for doing good will forever be limited by the pain and the negative filters you have. So let's say you're doing fantastic, you're here, you have all this hurt from your relationship with your father. You're never going to hit this capacity. And once this is healed, you'll have more, because that pain limits how you can heal and help other people. So this is why a constant self-work, and not to a completely like over the top level where you're just only focusing on you. That's not what I'm talking about. But continuing to heal the things that need healed for you. And for some people that is lifelong, but I actually don't believe it is for everyone. You can just heal through it and now be at this adult mature place. And these pain points might come up over time, but part of that healing is something comes up and you're able to work through it within seconds, potentially a couple of minutes, as opposed to dwelling on it for days and weeks and spiraling and being shamed towards yourself, like self-shaming, and then neglecting it and pushing it down. That's what a lot of people do. So even though things might come back up, your ability to process it quickly and move on and continue from there is emotional maturity. One aspect of it anyway. So that's the first step to handling ideas that you don't like, is to understand your own reactivity. And then from there, when this is happening in your life, approaching it with a level of love and compassion. And that doesn't mean you pretend that their ideas are right. It just means that you bring someone in to a better understanding of the world around them. So if you take a racist person as an example, bringing them into a community that isn't racist, that actually values all people, all races, and doesn't put them down because they're different. And that goes both ways. Doesn't put down other people and doesn't put down the person we're bringing in. It's teaching this person through a healthy community that their views are harmful. And we integrate them into health. We don't ostracize them further and deeper into hate and pain. There's limits to this. And this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. I mean, a lot of people get stuck on everything I've said so far and don't do a good job at it. But a lot of people get stuck with finding the line. So I believe in bringing people in to my life who are needing assistance and needing growth and development. There's a limit. I can't do that to every person I find, and that wouldn't be wise or healthy for me. And that would actually be disrespectful to both my family, myself, and the people I'm trying to help if I'm taking on too much at once. This is true of any therapist. This is why therapists need to have a limit to their caseload, because at a certain point you're trying to help too many people and you're just doing harm because your capacity is at its limit. So you have to be mindful of capacity, and you have to be mindful of the potential harm that they could cause. And that's where wisdom comes in. So, if you have someone who is struggling with racist comments, they're the same race as you, and maybe you have an adopted child that is a different race, one that they're racist towards. This might not be the type of person that you should be bringing to your home, because you don't want to use your child as the learning tool for this person's hate. Now, if you go back to what I said a minute ago about the importance of community, if you're out there and you think I'm completely emotionally healthy and I'm mature, but you don't have a community of people, you are not fully emotionally healthy and you are not fully emotionally mature. I feel very strongly about that, and I think the data and research shows that. These people who isolate and they say, I don't need a community of people. And you see this a lot with religious people who are like, I'm not going to go to religious gatherings. You see this a lot with people who do solo athletics, and they're like, I'm just going to do me, just me and my coach. They don't have a community of people. Any field where you are isolating and not connecting with the broader community is less healthy than connecting with community. You will be less healthy. And you might say, well, this community harmed me, which is why I'm doing my own thing. In that case, you're probably healthier right now than you were in that community, but you will always be less healthy than you could be in a healthy community. So if this community was down here and it harms you and you're like, well, I'm just going to do my own thing and I'm healing so much, now I'm good. What you're missing out on is this community was the problem. That specific community, not community in general and not relationships in general. These ones that weren't healthy. And even though you moved up in health by separating, you are still capped out even if you think you've gotten there, because a healthy version of that is up here and you can grow into that. But we deceive ourselves and think we've gotten there here because it looks so much better than this spot. But this is healthier. So you can't bring people in to steward them into a healthy life if you're not in community yourself, because you're putting all that on you. And to use that example that I gave a minute ago, of you have an adopted child that's a different race than you, and you're trying to help someone who is themselves dealing with a lot of racism coming out of them, bringing them into your home might not be healthy because you risk using your child as a teaching tool, and you probably don't want to do that. If I have a community of people, I can be communicating with them about this person that we're trying to bring into our lives and help work through some of the problems that they have and some of the hate that they're spewing. And other people that are in my group can help this person. And I can still help them in my free time, but it might not be wise to invite them into my home. But maybe my one-on-one time with them that also encourages them to be with other families who are the same race as them, and seeing how this healthy family doesn't treat other families with any type of bias or racism. They can learn there. And this is why having a community of people is really important. The same reason why we need cohesive teams at work. That way things can be passed around as needed. That is one of the reasons for healthy teams. It is not because there's so much work that everyone has to do everything, and this person does this person does that. It's also so that when something happens, we can hand over certain tasks to people with certain strengths, or where the match makes sense there. And that is, it's good. It's helpful. So that's, it's sad for me to see the amount of vitriol that comes from a lot of interactions. And I am well aware that, comment section and people online, it's a more hateful world than the real world in a lot of ways, but it is also still a reflection of the real world. Those are real people talking. So, the stuff you see online is an amplification of people's hearts. When someone says something hateful in the comments, but they don't say that in real life, they are being themselves in the comments. It's unfiltered. Now that might not be there every day, and they might even be saying that in a fit of rage, and they don't mean it in terms of how they're actively living their life, but it's actually in there, and it's a part of them that made it through to be hateful. So it is a microcosm that reflects reality, but is not always the full picture. So all that said, I strongly encourage people to have discussions to broaden their understanding of the world and experiences in it. And to have discussions on topics that you don't agree with or believe in, because empathy and understanding the other side is important. And I would encourage everyone just to do this right now while I'm talking. Can you think of any time where you've changed your mind, or where you've gotten more information and learned that you were wrong? If the answer is yes, then it would be very selfish and very ignorant to think that that cannot happen again, and that for some reason today you're immune when in the past you were not. If you think that you cannot change your mind and you think that you cannot be wrong about something, that is immaturity. Now, there are things where I can understand people saying, no, I'm putting my foot down on this. This is how this is. It's like, okay. But just in general, think about all the topics. Think about your area of expertise, whatever job that is. I'm a mental health expert, and I've spent years studying that. How long has it been at this point? 10 years of total study? 10 years of total study, with about 7 or 8 of those being focused on this specifically as my primary source of study. And one, I can tell you I don't know everything, and it's crazy how much there's still left to learn. It's also exciting. But then to think all this time that I spent, and then I listened to a debate that's on like 6 different topics. Maybe they bring up mental health, maybe they bring up climate change topic, an abortion topic, an economy topic, borders, that's a big topic. And I now think I'm going to be an expert on all those. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, you also don't have to be an expert to know that you should sleep more. I say that in a lot of videos, like most of us should sleep more. Sleep is good for your health. It's good for your mental health. It did not take me 8 to 10 years of study to know that. So that is where, we can speak into other topics that we're not experts on. And that's where it's also really hard to know when you should call someone out for being an expert or not. Saying, well, why do you have the authority to say this? Well, because it's openly available information. It doesn't take a college degree to go online and learn that sleep is healthy, or to know from anecdotal experience that it's healthy. Same with exercise. We know it's healthy. This isn't debated. Too much of it's bad, and doing it wrong is bad, but just in general, being able to move your body around, we know it's healthy. You don't need to do an appeal to authority for that. It just is. More complicated topics. I said a lot of things about emotional maturity, and that stuff is not just the easiest to find online. That's from a lot of reading and a lot of studying and a lot of witnessing in real life what it looks like to create a level of emotional maturity. And a lot of that is mixed also with understanding history. I do enjoy reading history, and I do enjoy learning about history. And history will tell you that hate towards your neighbor and ostracizing your neighbor leads to destruction. That's abundantly clear. Not debated at all. So it's good to pull things in and understand how things affect other things. Any topic that you're in, any field that you're in, it's not this isolated bubble. It's a little bit of a Venn diagram. There's stuff that kind of, overlaps here, and it connects to other things. Understanding history is a way to understand humans, which is a way to understand mental health. And you can do this with a lot of different categories. So actually every topic I just brought up, saying like climate change, abortion topic, what was the other one? Like open borders, closed borders, border security, all that stuff that gets brought up, economics. I can speak into all those topics from a mental health perspective. The degree to which I can speak to them is limited by how much I know the other topic enough. But I can still speak to topics of what does abortion do to people's mental health. There's a lot. We know a lot about that. What do border issues speak to mental health? It's like, well, are you talking about people coming over? Or are you talking about people currently in the country who are affected by that? Economy, how does that affect people's mental health? Well, we know a lot about resources and how that affects mental health and stress. So you can see how these things connect, and while you don't have to be an expert in one topic to talk about a thing, the issue is staying within your lane of understanding with that. And when we don't know the answer, or when we're talking to someone who doesn't know the answers, we approach with love and compassion and empathy, not with a gotcha or let me make you look stupid. And I would argue if you can't do that, you're not in a place to debate. You're not healthy enough to debate if you can't respect the other person. So in a culture where I feel like even some of what I'm saying is less and less accepted, it's important. And just know that if you are hearing this and you're thinking, well, I don't think we should let everyone have a voice, and I don't think we should give space for certain people, I don't think we should bring people into community, that doesn't make sense. We should have outcasts. We should have people put aside. Just understand, I'll take a strong stance and say that you are on the wrong side of history with that, because history has already shown that to be true. We've done that for thousands of years. We've outcasted people. We've sent them away to islands. We've sent them to gulags. We've killed them. We've done whatever we can to get rid of them. And in every single one of those societies, they've had really, really bad problems because of it. Because you can't get rid of those ideas. You have to teach and nourish them in a different direction. You can't stifle hatred with more hate and violence. So it has to be combated with love and affection. And again, there are times, we send people to prison. That's its own topic. We don't let people into our homes at times. I'm not saying you just all willy-nilly hugging everyone. You have to be wise and you have to be careful. But the long-term goal should not be to get these people away from society. It should be to integrate people healthily. And just know that you and me, everyone listening, every person probably has an opinion that is in the minority and is wrong and needs to be nourished in a healthy direction. And we would all hope to be corrected and made healthier and made whole, as opposed to being told that we aren't wanted, that we aren't loved, that we don't belong, that we aren't accepted, and that we're worthless. We don't need that. That's not how you're going to heal. It's not how we heal from our bad ideas and our problems. So be respectful to people. Engage in healthy debate and discussion and conversation. Do not engage at all if you can't be emotionally mature. And make sure that you don't kick people out of the world because you just don't like what they say. So, happy Monday. We'll see y'all soon.